Hi, welcome to the beginner series where we learn construction and estimation. This is a construction and surveying tutoring channel where you get to learn some of the items that are explained in a more simpler manner, in a way that it's easier for you to understand. For this series, we are intending to cover what we call now the concrete blinding. And we are also intending to cover also what we call strip foundation footing and concrete bases. If at all you are new to this channel, then please make a subscription because you're in the right channel and you don't want to miss these videos henceforth. For the returning viewers, I want to say thank you very much for that continued support. Just want to urge you that from this channel you are going to benefit even much further. As we start, we normally make references to the rules that we summarized based on our previous sessions, and in those rules we made a summary of the items that are most common items, and of course we started with just the simpler plans. When you're catching up for the first time, then I would urge you that there are more beginner series that have been done, and they have been attached as videos in this channel. So if at all you need to catch up with us up to this point where now we are going to cover these items of concrete blinding, concrete footing, and the column pad and the column bases, then it would be important that for you to understand us even better, then you'd wish to have a look at the videos that are preceding the one that is coming just now, because we've been doing this work sequentially, right from the part where we were introducing the course, that is the quant surveying. Then we went ahead and now did the rules. So then we made a summary of where these rules can be found in the standard methods of measurements, and thereafter we are now using them. We are now learning how to apply these rules in estimation, in how to estimate or how to do taking off with these rules. So that is where we are, and from our previous session we had learned about getting the center line, and of course we also did excavations. We did the excavation for the trenches and so on. So in our session today, just as I've introduced, it's a part that we are going to look into calculation for the concrete blinding. So normally in our quest, or in our way of doing the work, we've always made sure that we show you these items in terms of where the rules are found. So concrete blinding is provided for in F2 of the standard methods of measurement. So that is the reference. So actually the items here that we are talking about, these items have been listed in the standard methods of measurements, and therefore if at all you need to make a reference, then it's imperative that these items, the sections that have been listed here, the SMM sections, can help you to find out even deeper what you are looking for. We've said that concrete blinding is found from F2, and from this F2 it shows that we should measure concrete blinding in square meters, okay, and so on. So also in our adoption of a way of even learning better, I always opt to show you images of these items that we are talking about, and of course it will be important for us to see what that concrete blinding is, and then we go ahead and do the estimation for the same. Looking into what has been shown in our presentation now, this is basically this is a trench. Of course, lest we forget that construction is a process, and therefore there are those preceding activities that have to be done before we get to the other. For instance, once you've done the site clearance, then straight away you'll go and this is now just setting out, just giving a demarcation of where you are going to do your bases, you are going to do your strip, your trenches for the strip footing, and of course for the foundation wall and so on. Once that is done, then you now do the excavation. After you've done the excavation, then normally for structural reasons, it's imperative that you do what we call now making that surface to be level, okay. And the reason is because whatever that you are putting next, you are pouring next, that is now the casting the foundation footing, it's a structural element. And you won't wish that some parts, if you've designed it to be 200, you'd wish that it's 200 all through, so that there is no compromise in the stability of that particular foundation footing. So you do the blinding so that you make sure that the strength of the concrete footing that has been designed is maintained, and you just also level that particular ground. It's important that you note it's measured in square meters. We've just seen that as well. So once you have that, so we'd like to see how do you go about that. How do you now get to arrive to that square meters of that particular concrete blinding. So straight into our taking off dimension paper, you'll notice that in this case, what you have the lengths from the plan, okay? And once you have the length, then it's easier for you to go straight to getting now the area, because from the width you go look into have a look at the section. This will give you the width, okay? And then of course the length, it's for you to calculate the length from that particular plan. So the one that we are using, the plan that we are using, we had calculated some parts of that particular item and then, for instance, in this case, then we just have to get those lengths, and of course the dimensions have been given, but then you need to make your calculations to find those exact lengths that you are dealing with. But because they are those that were following from the previous layout or previous plan, then that is the one that I would wish us to use for this case. So we'll go straight into calculation. So straight we'll look into what we call concrete blinding. So that is what we are required to cover. Concrete blinding done in square meters. That is also something we've seen. We've seen that it's done in square meters. So the concrete blinding. And from that, we get the lengths. We calculate the lengths of the trenches. Lengths of the trenches. And from our previous discussion, we had calculated those lengths. Where we had we got the external center line to be 63.6, while the internal lengths we got them to be 7.4 and 4.3 for this particular plan. This is the plan that we are still making references to, and of course the concept still remains the same in terms of how the same length that you use to do the excavation is the same length that you are using for the blinding and also for the concrete footing, okay? And the reason being, you won't be having your blinding going past the part that when you've started with the external trench, then it means the external trench is going to have both sides. I mean both sides of the internal spread and also the external spread. So once you have those two spreads, then it means for the internal wall, it's now going to be ending at a point that is going to be within the internal spread of the external wall. So in short, from what is here, this particular part, it's supposed to end at that point, okay? And then here is also supposed to end at that particular point. Therefore, it means that the length that the way we had calculated them still remains to be usable, because for the external trench, it was including the internal spread, and therefore the internal walls now are not going to be having not going to be including the part that is marked X in this in that image. So the same explanation applies for these, and that is why we are still going to use the items, the length, the dimension that we got for our excavation for the trenches. So that gives us straight to that takes us straight to the length that we already calculated. So we just note that same lengths as done before. So you simply note the length that you are going to use. They had been done in our previous session for the trenches, and therefore we go straight into entering the dimensions that we are supposed to enter in our taking off list. So we start, and the first one was for the external center line, the external strip, and the center line was 63.60, and then the next is the width. Of course, this is done in square meters, so it's the length and the width, and the width for this case is 600. Okay, this is the width of the footing. Okay, and once you have that, then you would go straight to entering that the very dimension as well. So we do, after that, we do 0.60. Okay, so this that gives us the dimension that we are looking for. The quantity that we are looking for in terms of for calculating of the concrete blinding in that particular part. So we have one, we've already done the one is for the external foundation strip, and then the second one are now for the internal walls, and this is 7.40, and let me just pull this down a bit. Okay, 7.40 and 0.60. That is supposed to be for the width of the blinding, and then we go to the third one, which is 4.30. 4.30 times also 0.60. So once we have these three, those are the lengths that we are supposed to have in terms of from the given plan that we had already calculated, the plan that we are using. So we have that, you underline to show that it's in square meters, and then you do the same for that, and then you do the same for that item 3. Okay, so once you have that, then you've now calculated concrete blinding. Of course, always remember to do your bracketing before you do your description. So that is how it goes. So you do that, then you describe concrete blinding. You can talk about mass concrete blinding, yes, mass concrete blinding. Mix would be whatever that is provided, so you can talk mix. Okay, yes, so having noted that, we've just done the blinding. Of course, now the next part is for you to take into consideration in terms of the mix of the concrete that you're applying, and of course taking note of as well the rules, the provision of the rules. This is basically just stating in square meters and so on. So what we do after noting the mix, then you can maybe 1 to 3 to 6 and so on. So as long as all the considerations of the rule are taken into place, then there is no a rule or a basic way that is written on stone on how you'd go about that, as long as you've taken everything into consideration. So that is everything about concrete blinding. Therefore, we'll do the next item, and the next item would be strip footing. So for the strip footing, the rules will remain the same, and of course just confirm what does the rules tells you, how do you need to go about that. It's supposed to be done in cubic meters. If you need that reference, is in F2C. Okay, so once you've known that, then you now know the items that you're looking for in terms of what to enter in your dimensions and so on. So your plan, the one that we've already done, that is why I insisted that we have to get the center line properly. Once you have the center line properly and the lengths, those lengths are going to help you for the footing, for the blinding and concrete footing as well. And now you can notice that we are still using those particular lengths. Okay, so we go to the strip footing. It's done in cubic meters. So just note, this is now for the strip footing. Strip footing is done in cubic meters. The lengths that you're going to use, okay, lengths used, okay, are same as the excavation lengths. So the one that we already calculated and the one that are also going to be used for this particular item. So the length that we have, the same length that are going to be used. This is the external trench is 63.6, internal is 7.4, and then the other internal is also 4.3. So we go ahead and enter the dimensions just as we've seen in that particular point. So 63.60. okay, so that is what we have, one of them. So after you've entered the 63.3, then we go the width will be 0.6, and of course always remember to make reference to your section. This is the section, and the 200 is the part that is giving you what you're supposed to have in terms of the depth of the footing. So that is how the footing is looking like. Okay, the part that has just been highlighted. And once you have that footing, and then the length, which was done from the center line as from here, then you're good to go to enter your dimensions and finish up the work. Alright, so 0.6, and then the depth is 0.20. That is for part 1. Okay, then part 2 and 3, now that are the internal lengths, which is 7.40, 0.6, 0.60, and 0.20. okay, then number 3 is the third internal footing, which is 4.30, and then 0.60 and 0.20. okay, so once you have that well written out, then of course remember to do your underlining. Just underline them properly. Okay, just underline what you have here, underline here because this is cubic meters, and also underline at that point. Okay, so once you have that, of course remember to do your bracket, and then you properly explain, describe what you are talking about. Of course, once you have your dimensions well indicated in terms of where you've taken off, and therefore you bracket as usual, just to make sure that all the items that you're describing are contained within that particular bracket. So you make your bracket, and then you enter what you are talking about in terms of what you are measuring. Okay, so once you have that, of course when making your description, just make sure that all the items possibly that you should include are within that, and that includes now talking about the main item, which is now the reinforced concrete. Okay, reinforced concrete. Then you can talk about the mix. For instance, you can say 1 to 2 to 4 in footing. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Once you have your description ready and your bracketing done, dimension done, then basically that is what all you need to know about the reinforced concrete footing. Okay, so from our plan for this session, we have talked about we've discussed concrete blinding, we've discussed concrete footing, and then let's also see something into column pads. So of course column pads are not part of this session. From the plan that we are using, this was just a basic plan without all those other items. So we'll just stick to that arrangement that we made, and of course going forward we'll now get into more complicated plans, all with those structural elements, including the pads, the columns, and so on. Okay, so that is what we need to cover for now. So that brings us to the end of our coverage concerning the concrete blinding and also concrete footing. So moving forward, we'll be looking next into from this part here, we should be seeing what next to do for the concrete slab reinforcement. Okay, reinforcement bars, also BRC, and so on. So we still have quite a number of items to cover, but for now we'll just stop it at that point. As usual, from this channel you get everything that you'll need, including the private sessions that you'd wish to have, including also books that are also explaining what I've always been presenting here, at a very affordable cost. So whenever you need such, whenever you need private sessions, you have work like for instance bills of quantities to be done for you, you need work methodology, you also need schedule of materials, schedule of labor. All those services that are listed and under my description can be found from this channel. So if in case you have such tailor-made requests, just reach me out. I will sort them out at your most convenient time, in the best way possible, and in the way that you'd always appreciate so much. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I would urge you that if you haven't left the channel, please make a subscription, because you don't want to miss the content, the videos that are coming here on daily basis, and they're coming quite clear, simple, and of much benefit to you in all that you need, anything concerning construction and especially quantity surveying. So you have a wonderful time until we meet again in our next session. Have a great time. Bye bye.